just natural locations I'd ever seen, with snow-capped mountains rising up in the distance as the perfect backdrop to the forest setting. I stood up from my little napping zone under the tree to survey the landscape more. There were no signs of anything, really. No people, buildings, buses, nothing. My hand instinctively went to my pocket, where I usually kept my game grip. Surprisingly, the handheld gaming system was still nuzzled in my pocket and seemed to be in perfect condition. I pressed the little button on the top to turn it on. After 5 seconds of me holding the button down, the screen remained black. I guess it's broken, I said to myself, and shoved the system back into my pocket. Well, that's pretty unfortunate. A memory resurfaced of me buying the game grip. It wasn't a very vivid or lengthy memory or anything. I just remember that when I felt the grip in my hands for the first time, I was so excited and proud that I'd finally been able to buy it. I also had the inkling that I spent a lot of my time on it before the incident, so at least I knew I had gotten good use out of it before it crapped out. I inhaled the clean, fresh air and stretched again. Everything felt so good. To be precise, everything felt great. I felt like a new man. Like, at the ripe old age of 21, I had been given another chance. But why me? That was a question I would probably ask myself for a long time, but it wasn't something I really needed to worry about right now. As I stretched out my body, I noticed a few odd sensations. My hands traced down my own arms that felt nice and tight and strong. I felt my chest. It was puffed up with firm pecs. My hands reached down to my shirt, and I pulled it up, revealing 2 rows of chiseled abs. I didn't remember those ever being there before. I looked up into the tree dancing above me. There was a lower hanging branch that I decided to use to test out this new cut body. I leisurely hopped up and latched onto the branch a few feet above me. I quickly pumped out 10 easy pull-ups. When I dropped back down to the ground, I wasn't tired at all. This was crazy. What I needed to do was get my bearings, and that meant finding something or anything that could help me learn where I was. I scanned around me again and noticed a clear-cut little dirt road that ran along the tree line. I decided to follow it because a road meant people, right? The path wound its way along the edge of the forest that crept its way down the nearby mountainsides. One thing I did know was that wherever I was from, it wasn't this beautiful, because I was truly in awe at just how vivid everything was. The greens were so green, and the sky was so blue that whenever I stared up at it, I felt like it could just suck me right in. I followed the path pretty leisurely, just taking in all the sights and the crazy sounds of the natural world around me. A lot of the forest sounds were familiar. I heard all kinds of sing-song bird calls, chittering squirrels, and buzzing insects, but there were some other weird noises that I assumed to be animals. I just didn't know what kind. I followed the path for maybe 30 minutes, and it led me through a little forested valley. I came around a bend, and lo and behold, there was a village. When I say village, I don't mean like it was an old village, complete with little wooden huts that looked like they were from ancient Japan or straight out of Avatar: The Last Airbender. For a small, ancient village, there was actually kind of a lot happening. People walked around the dusty streets, past what I could only assume were shops of people selling and buying things. Carts of fresh fruits, meats, and other delicacies tempted me with wafting, delicious smells. Other people crafted what looked like armor, weapons, and all kinds of items that were on display for purchase. It was weird, though, because some of the people seemed to be wearing old-fashioned clothes, but I noticed other people wearing clothing more similar to the modern clothing that I was familiar with, like tracksuits and sporty jackets, although I was just about the only one dressed in ripped jeans and my favorite Naruto t-shirt. The really weird thing, though, was that dotted among the people was a decent population of animals, but they didn't seem like animals. They seemed to somehow be even more understanding than animals. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of animals can be trained to do some really neat and helpful stuff, but these animals carried themselves differently, looked a bit differently, and could control the elements. Like there was a bird-looking thing with the blacksmith, just hovering in the air while the smithy pounded away at his red hot.